The wait is over, and the stage is set for a game-changer in naval power. After years of construction, testing, and anticipation, the U.S. Navy's billion-dollar aircraft carrier is finally ready for action. With its advanced technology, unparalleled firepower, and ability to project American military power around the world, this massive floating fortress is groundbreaking. But how strong is it? And what secret features make this aircraft carrier the ultimate weapon of the future? Is this $13 billion warship the most feared aircraft carrier in the world? Before we jump into all the exciting stuff, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. America's third-generation aircraft carrier, Gerald R. Ford, is a statement, not just a warship. It is positioned as the most expensive aircraft carrier ever constructed and serves as an actual defense for Taiwan. After 14 years of designing and construction, this massive aircraft came with a whopping price tag of $13.3 billion by the end of 2021. That's about double the cost of the previous Nimitz-class carriers. With a price tag like that, criticisms naturally came flooding in. Some regarded it as a waste of money, while others called it a headache for the Pentagon. Even the military experts questioned the necessity of something so costly and complex for the U.S. Navy. But now, when tensions over Taiwan are at an all-time high and a conflict between China and the United States seems closer than ever, people's perspectives are changing. All of a sudden, this highly advanced strategic weapon is beginning to appear more like a need than a luxury. Consider this. How else would you deal with China's highly developed military, which is equipped with fifth-generation fighter jets and a fleet of cutting-edge warships? And let's not forget, this is taking place more than 7,000 miles away from the coast of the United States. So, what's the alternative? Perhaps the critics failed to see the bigger picture. What do you think? Is the Gerald R. Ford what America needs right now? Or is it a costly gamble? Gerald R. Ford, a third generation with serial number CVN-78, is the largest warship in the world. Weighing in at over 100,000 tons, this ultra-modern giant is packed with advanced tech that pushes the boundaries of what an aircraft carrier can do. Of course, such innovation came at a price. It became one of the most expensive military projects ever as a result of 2-year construction delays. But the idea for this powerhouse started much earlier, back in the mid-1990s. Fast forward to 2005, and the new ship was finally laid down. Its mission was to take over the iconic USS Enterprise, the first U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier that had been sailing the seas since the early 1960s. This next third-generation aircraft carrier had some very high standards. It required improved survivability, space for more aircraft, and a more powerful nuclear power plant than the previous models. At one point, there was even discussion of using advanced stealth technology to transform it into a stealth ship. But that idea is too expensive and way too complicated. However, the designers managed to make the Ford less detectable compared to the Nimitz-class carriers. They also automated several procedures and introduced advanced algorithms with the goal of lowering maintenance expenses. Sounds great, right? Well, things didn't work out as expected. The crew is still huge. More than 4,500 workers manage the ship's operations and maintenance, compared to 5,207 on the Nimitz class. The Ford may appear to be similar to its predecessors from the outside, but this is not a coincidence. The designers made just minor adjustments to increase stealth in order to save money, leaving many aspects of the well-known Nimitz design unchanged. To reduce the superstructure, the bridge was moved to the lower deck, and the deck house was placed closer to the stern. The superstructure was placed along the ship's side, while cabins and other rooms were squeezed into the hull. Does all this make the Ford invisible? Not exactly. This sea behemoth is still a beast at 1,106 feet long, 256 feet broad, and 134 feet tall. It's tough to pick out this ship on cruise missile radar since it blends right in with the rest of the carrier strike group. And here's something impressive. It's powered by 2 cutting-edge A-1B nuclear reactors that generate 25% more energy than the older models. These reactors are built to last for 50 years without the need for a refuel. These engines can push this 100,000-ton monster at 30 knots or 34.5 miles per hour through the water. For comparison, torpedo boats reached those speeds during World War II, but they were nothing in comparison to this floating fortress. Let's now discuss firepower. Gerald R. Ford can transport up to 90 drones, helicopters, and airplanes. We are discussing upgraded F-35C fighter bombers, MH-60R multi-role helicopters, FA-18EF Super Hornet attack fighters, and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye AWACS planes. And don't forget the strike drones. Even if half of these planes are F-35Cs, this ship alone will have more fifth-generation fighters close to Taiwan than China has in its entire fleet. Just think of the headache Beijing would have. Aircraft carriers depend on catapults to launch aircraft and use arrestor systems to safely bring them back. These systems are key because they decide how many aircraft can take off in a single day. Gerald R. Ford took things to the next level by being the first to use an electromagnetic catapult instead of the old-school steam-powered ones. What is the result? An incredible 160 sorties a day on average, with the potential to reach 220 sorties under extreme circumstances. For reference, the older Nimitz-class carriers could handle about 120 sorties in a single day. That's a huge leap. Also, the new electromagnetic system weighs half as much as the previous one, which is revolutionary given that catapults alone account for 20% of an aircraft carrier's weight. This floating airstrip has a strong self-defense system even without its escort ships. It is equipped with surface-to-air missile launchers, RAM-116 and RIM-162, which have a range of 10 and 50 kilometers, respectively. To complete its air defense, it also has a cutting-edge dual-band DVR radar system. All those technical specs can be a little boring, right? Don't worry, here's something you'll want to know. This radar system is also used on another U.S. Navy marvel, the DDG-1000 Zumwalt, a next-gen destroyer. But the problem is that when you try to pack 100,000 tons of the latest technology onto a single ship, you're definitely going to run into some bumps along the way. The systems that manage landings and takeoffs are one of the major problems. According to tests, the electromagnetic arrestor system, which was intended to safely stop planes landing on the deck, wasn't quite performing up to par. The ship's designers claimed that it could easily accommodate 600 aircraft, but in reality, it barely reached 25. Early on, its performance metrics were considerably below the hype. Only 400 takeoffs were accomplished using the electromagnetic catapult, which was supposed to handle 4,000. The system of arrestors? It barely made it with 25 landings, as opposed to the 600 that were promised. As if it weren't enough, the propeller shaft bearings failed nearly instantly after sea testing began, forcing the ship to return to port. Repairs took months. Additionally, the ship's brand new electromagnetic hoists, which were intended to transport ordnance to the flight deck, were completely non-functional by the end of 2018. But engineers didn't give up. They took on each issue one at a time. By June 2021, the carrier was ready for a rigorous round of reliability test. Everything was tested, including the nuclear reactor and the onboard computers. They even tested how the crew would handle serious damage. The first underwater test explosion happened on June 18th, right off the coast of Florida. The impact? It hit a solid 3.9 on the Richter scale. That's no small shake. But Gerald R. Ford came through it like a champ, proving it's built to handle the heat. The ship is now at last ready to engage in combat operations. And the U.S. Navy has big plans. They're aiming to build 10 of these floating fortresses to gradually replace the aging Nimitz-class carriers. With Ford in the forefront, naval might is entering a new era. Do you think that these third-generation carriers are worth all the billions being invested in them? Or is there a better way to use all that cash? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into fascinating topics like this.